Georgia ran and they ran and they ran. It took them a bit to get there, but Georgia's rushing offense was really stellar against Georgia Tech a few weeks in a row now that Georgia's kind of found its groove in the middle of the game and used a really solid rushing attack to then open up some of the things in the pass game. And that's what Georgia Tech was kind of allowing to happen. And that's what Georgia's offense does. Take what you give it. Well, we're giving you Jittery Joe's Coffee. Look in the comments on the right or in the description below. You can enter a contest to win. It's not a contest, really. It's just kind of like the random raffle thing. I don't know the exact right term for it. What I do know is that this Jittery Joe's Coffee.
Win and free.
Yes. You can have the National Championship Limited Edition Jittery Joe's Coffee, and you don't have to pay for it. That's what I do know. And it's just your name and an email address so we can contact you if you're the one that's chosen to win and you really want to get some of this limited edition coffee, and you want to have that can as a keepsake to remember Georgia's 2021 National Championship. If you want to buy it yourself, go to any of the Northeast Georgia Jittery Joe's locations or jitteryjoes.com. Maybe if you don't live in the area, they ship. If you buy a certain amount, shipping's free. It's great. jitteryjoes.com. We are really appreciative of them. And if you want to be a winner, that's going to put you in a very exclusive group along with Michael Gualdoni, who is the winner from our previous Jittery Joe's raffle. Our publisher, Rodney DeBolsi, has been putting these on. Michael Gualdoni. That sounds like a name I'd see on like a city councilman sign as I'm driving down the road, maybe trying to get more green space for our park. Anywho, I'm sure Michael's a lovely person, and Michael has great taste in coffee.
And congrats to him.
Be like Mike. I think that's what they said back in the day. We're
Yes.
Different campaign, but similar one. Be like Kenny McIntosh, because this guy is emerging as one of the better playmakers for Georgia in recent memory, Brent. And he just seems to get a little better and stronger each week. I know he's playing through some minor injuries.
Doesn't look like it.
All right, you can't tell, is
No.
what I'm saying. Running, passing, he can, or catching, he can do it all. He can probably pass too.
He did last year, right, against Michigan. And we might see that hopefully, or maybe we'll see that in this year as well. But no, he's definitely been like sort of their alpha over these past few weeks, especially the last 2 weeks, but even over the last month since Florida, he stepped up in that room and really kind of led the charge and been the guy for them offensively. But it's as we look forward to one, the SEC championship, and then two, the playoff, potentially likely the playoff, this offense is still going to go how Stetson Bennett plays. If he plays really well, they're going to play really well offensively. Because of the nature of the offense, I think they've put it in his hands so much that it's just going to be that. They're going to live and die in a way with how well he plays. The running game potentially can handle a lot of that, or take a lot of that load off. But I think as we get into these next few games, it's not necessarily going to be the case. But this, to me, is what he brings that you're going to see a lot more of over hopefully the next 3 weeks or next 3 games.
So, this is just great scrambling ability to make something out of nothing. The most impressive part of this to me is his footwork on the sideline, some little twinkle toes, Fred Flintstone style, is getting on down. He got an extra 7 yards by tiptoeing the sideline.
Yeah, and just it's body control, right? He actually has elite body control in terms of quickness and moving and things like that, and just great job by him. I think he had 22 yards on scrambles in this game, and I just see them using his the governor will come off starting Saturday.
The only thing that I wish here, and this is hard because this is just backyard ball at this point, I kind of wish Rosemead turns his head back this way. I know he's trying to catch up to 2, but if you make the block on 40 here, then if Stetson's able to make, I think it's 2. We can't really tell with these numbers. It just potentially, if he makes the block on 40 right there, maybe Stetson gets a little bit further. But he's getting out of bounds to avoid a hit anyway. So I'm being greedy. I get it. Stetson overall, though, fantastic run. You with me here? We may have an internet blip situation.
Yes,
I hear your audio.
I hear.
Well, while your internet gets resorted, you can jump in as you need to. This is getting to Kenny McIntosh here early in this play. We see defensive back blitz coming from this way, and Georgia runs right around and through it. There goes the snap. Kenny Mack, really good interior blocking. This was the first big run of the game that I remember from Kenny McIntosh, and just he's such a smooth runner at this point. I think it's Van Pran on the inside. So Van Pran gets his leverage here, pushes off this way. Boom! That would be a pancake, and we all do love pancakes on Georgia's offensive line. Love seeing Karis Jackson and Lab McConkey chase this in case maybe Kenny Mack can break it a little bit further. Overall, though, in a game, I mean, look at the score. This is into the second quarter a little bit, Georgia trailing, not doing a whole lot on offense at this point. This is when Kenny McIntosh has been his absolute best, is when he can be a game breaker. And this is just a great run right at the gut. Cedric Van Pran, Tate Ratledge, all kinds of kudos to go around in this game to lobby their way. Let me adjust my screen because Brent is back over here with us, and I did not see him. What's up?
I mean, it works, and then it just says bye. I'm not going to work anymore. But anyway, this run. So speaking of this run, a couple things with this run. You think, they spread them out 2 by 2. Tech's call, like you only had to block a few of the guys that were there. Like their defensive call really made this play sort of go. Good work in terms of, we always talk about head and butt, knowing where to be. Ratledge getting his head, butt turned, and then Cedric Van Pran as well kind of opened up the middle of the field. And I think that's something that Georgia targeted, because in terms of how they ran this, and then even Kendall Milton's touchdown, very similar look. And then also what's amazing, this was the longest run by a running back this year.
Oh, I did not realize that.
And then also he had this run with 11:33 to go in the second quarter and didn't touch the ball again until the first play of the second half.
Right. Coach Donnan was, he said the same thing.
I don't understand that. But anyway, still good stuff, good work in the middle of the field. And that's, hey, if teams are going to spread out, if you spread teams out and they do that, hit them quick.
Make sure you tell your friends you heard about head and butt from Dayne and Brent at UGAsports.com. That's how we're really going to get our YouTube numbers up.
It's very important in blocking.
It's very important in life.
Because, for example, Mr. Bowers gets kind of, the guy grabs his jersey a little bit and throws him away because he doesn't get the booty turned a little bit on this one. But this, counter is something that they just do a lot more of. And it kind of goes away, and then it comes, and they've gotten to be where it's about 35 to 40% of the running game, depending upon the game itself. But what's good about this is a true traditional sort of 7-man box and 3-4 look. The hardest block on this play by far to me is Amarius Mims' block, because he's got a 6'4", 300-pound dude right in front of him. And that's where the ball is going. So he has to – he gets a little help from Bowers. Bowers gives him a little help. And I don't know if he's holding him there because the guy doesn't move, and he's kind of like this. Who knows? It wasn't called, so it didn't happen. But that's just a tough, tough block. And if you get that block, it's going to be a big play, and it was. Bowers doesn't get shedded by that guy. That's a touchdown.
Also need to just show some praise for the fight here from Roseme, because this was a hand fighting battle. Like this is almost UFC style in the interior here. He stays with it and wins.
Yep.
He's so good at that. And he's Georgia's best blocking receiver. Pound for pound, maybe McConkey can be with, but there's just some people that McConkey can't go up with that Roseme can, just for height and length and size and all that. And
still, you can also marvel at what Darnell Washington does at 6'7", 280 on this, plays like this. It's amazing. But
yeah, there's so many plays in each game that like don't even get the highlight reel worthy stuff with Darnell, that pro scouts and NFL coaches are going to say, just give me that, because it opens up so much that I can do with every facet of the game.
Yep.
He's a unicorn in so many ways.
And now we get to look at Rosemy. Now we get to look at Rosemy catching touchdowns.
We do, and I did not think this ball was going to go to Rosemy here.
Well, my initial first thought watching it live was great ball placement and throw, because he had to go up high to get it. It looked like it was away from the defender, and then they showed sort of the angle from the end zone looking towards Georgia's offense, and it's more great catch than great throw. Like he just did a phenomenal job of going up and snatching the football, being right where he needs to be. Don't be at the half-yard line. Be in the end zone when you catch this ball. Very important.
I thought, just because the protection was really good back here, I thought this was going to be Kenny Mack coming on a little inside drag across the front. But it was 3rd and goal. That does make it more difficult to be able to get the yak and get in the end zone from that angle. What I will say, route running wise here, do you remember, I think this was last season, and it wasn't quite this formation because it was a little bit wider, closer to the sideline. A.D. Mitchell, and I think it was the first time that I looked at A.D. and was like, oh, he can do some of that pro route stuff.
The Auburn against Auburn?
Yes, one-on-one against Auburn. So there was not the same scenario. I get that. But it was very much the run, one step in, back out.
Whip.
And then the pass would be down here. If you think about that, if you know the play I'm talking about, watch
McCreary. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, and that guy's phenomenal. But watch Rosemy's footwork here. It may not be the exact same route, fine. But I'm saying he doesn't give it quite the oomph that AD does.
Yeah.
Because it's a similar route where you're going to a spot and then you're working back with your shoulders kind of parallel to the end zone.
Great catch. And by the way, so now after a struggle to the start of the season, I think the first few games of the season, first half of the season, he was 1 of 6 in terms of coming down with contested catches. Since that point, 5 of 9. So greater than 50%. You want that, any sort of contested catch situation, you want that number to be greater than 50%, and he's done that over the past 4 or 5 games.
In terms of just like having options for Stetson Bennett, and he doesn't have to do a whole lot of analysis here. So you have Rosemy kind of getting in this spot. You have Bowers coming down here. Darnell is doing the deep drag to the back. Yeah, and then you have Kenny Mack doing this here. So you have like 4 options for Stetson Bennett, and it works out well because 2 guys are looking at Ladd McConkey.
Yes.
So, sorry, Tech, you made the wrong call here because all the action is to this side.
Yep.
Good play from Stetson Bennett. Now, McConkey again. He's among the team's MVPs.
What's amazing about this game, this was, we talked about the punt return in the other video. This was his only offensive touch. He had 0 targets. First time in his sort of playing career, last 2 years, that he's not been targeted as a receiver. So he did what he could with this 1 touch that he got.
I'm going to stop this. Actually, you know what? I'll stop it at this angle here. Don't we always say to work, like use the sideline to your advantage, push the guy to where it helps on the inside? That is true unless all of your help is on the sideline. Like, this is a really funny picture at this point of, they all just were going to follow him out of bounds, except he didn't go there. Yes.
It's just, his quickness in small space and ability to, and I thought this play was going to be a bust when he bows back, because that usually means bad news, but he did a phenomenal job of just making it. I think it was 14-yard run, just making something out of it. Great cuts, playmaker.
Backyard football is just something you can tell he's played a lot of. 3rd and 10 here. Stetson.
This is beautiful. Everything about this is beautiful. Just finish the catch.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it happened, and I texted you, play of the game. Because, it's 10-7, still in the third quarter, early in the third quarter, into the third quarter. that to me was going to be a game changing play, but he just didn't. He bobbled it that little bit.
I'll say that the deep shots when you have Arian Smith, it's just a different level. Like he does something that no one else on this team can do, and Georgia needs to use it even more than it has. Like he's very much a weapon.
I think that's his fifth target on the year.
I mean, he has like 12 on his career, and some of that's because of his injury. I get it, but it's not a lot. What I would say about the replay, because I was having some pretty intense text conversations of in the stadium, they showed it and everyone thought it was a touchdown, and I get it. But like there was a bobble. I think you could see it either way. Knee was definitely on the sideline. Foot was definitely in bounds. When did he have possession in the middle of that? And it's so hard to tell.
Oh, it's the call in the field, right? It's always because did they call this a touchdown and then
I think they called it a touchdown and then overturned it.
Okay, and it matters so much. Like even I watched watching the LSU A&M game. There was one where it's like, and then the guy talks about if he's standing up versus falling to the ground or something. Who knows? Who knows with any of this stuff? I don't know. Like, what was it? The Thanksgiving night, the Patriots game. How in the world was that not a catch on the goal line by Hunter Henry? I got no clue. Sometimes I was shocked. I would say and I think we're going to look at it here in a second. If the NFL refs were reffing this game, the next one coming up is probably not a touchdown.
Beautiful play design here on a 4th and goal situation. All right, main thing I want to point out here, yes, we know Bowers goes back here and he has all this space because Georgia Tech didn't follow him, which is stupid. This is Jalen Carter going out for a pass.
He's done it before.
He has done it before, and he's being covered, so that's why it goes to Bowers. Obviously, this throw's horrendous, and Bowers saves the day. But I do love seeing Jalen Carter get used in this way because if he's always going to come in as a blocker, then there's never the threat of this, and that can come back later on because he's a good athlete. He's a good player.
Stetson had 3 touchdowns on this in like three straight plays.
And we think that this ball hit the ground first.
I mean, I don't know. I would say I thought the other 2 were more of a touchdown than this. Because the one where he's kind of falling back and then he reached the ball over the goal line, I think it was right before this. I was like, how is that not a touchdown?
Oh, hold on. I hit the wrong button here. Yeah, that ball definitely hits the ground. I know the rule. Ooh, yeah, that ball moves after it hits the ground.
Like in the NFL, that's not a catch.
It shouldn't have been a catch.
That's Hunter Henry 2.0. But hey, they called it a catch on the field, and so they kind of had to keep it. Oh well, it worked.
It could be a makeup call.
It's a catch to me, just because you can tell he has clear control of the football. It's not like he's not like he's using the ground to catch it. I think it just happens to be on the ground. But
bigger point.
Don't get the 4th and goal where you're doing this and just beating your head into the ground again with the short yard stuff. They actually did use Stetson's legs, sort of read type plays, but one of them I think he kept and he didn't need to. But still, I thought even the previous runs were touchdowns.
Main thing is Stetson. Like, yeah, you're under pressure. Get it. You can do better than that.
Yes,
I can do better than that.
And also, like,
I probably couldn't. I'm sorry.
Well, Bowers too. Think about Bowers' game in this game. He had 5 catches, 7 targets for 20 yards. In the last 4 games, he has 15 catches on 21 targets for only 98 yards. And the 2 touchdowns were the goal line touchdowns. Like, his longest was a 15-yarder at Miss State, and I think that was a screen. Like, you've got to find ways. Like, we think back to the play against South Carolina, where they threw it up the middle to him, and then he bounced off the guy and then took it, 75.
Think about Tech last year.
Yeah.
Think about Tech last year when he split the safeties.
Yes, they haven't run that play the rest of the season. Like, this guy's a weapon. I by the way, I do think that's going to change starting in the SEC championship game, but we'll see.
Well, we'll discuss this in our LSU preview that's upcoming on Monday. But there's some things to exploit with LSU linebackers who could potentially be covering Brock Bowers.
Yep,
we'll get to that when it's appropriate. Now,
This
let's
is how
get
you
to
goal
some
line.
goal line. Tell me, you got excited when I showed you we're going to do this play.
This is how you goal line. Spread teams out, keep receivers on the field, because when you're in the tight formation, you got extra tight ends and extra blockers. What do? They put bigger guys on the field too. Because here's what's beautiful about this play. Watch the corner. I think it's the corner and the safety, but the guys right behind the end zone. One's got black cleats. Not that top side, the bottom part of the screen.
Yeah.
One's got black cleats. Watch their footwork in unison. Step backwards.
Yeah.
Those guys don't want to come forward. Keep them in the game. Spread them out. Run your stuff. The QB's a run threat. This is how you goal line.
I can tell you why they don't want to come forward. They don't want to come forward because
Mr. Washington is right there.
To which I say, I get it. I'd be the same way. But especially like the score. Yeah, I'm good. Don't need to.
But I've watched all the games, like Thanksgiving games, other college games this weekend. Teams get into tight formations and try to run the ball down other teams' throats. The Falcons game today, like, it just doesn't work because there's not enough space. It's not hard. Keep your athletes on the field, create space, make your QB a run threat, prosper in the goal line.
When you just think about personnel, when is Georgia's offense its best? And I don't care which part of the field that it is. It's when you have Darnell, and you have Bowers, and you have McIntosh, and you have McConkey, and you have Rosemary, and you have Stetson. This is your best personnel group. However you line them up, when Georgia's at its best, these are the players on the field, period.
Yep.
And when you take any of those guys off the field, you limit what the offense can be in every single situation. Soapbox done. Final play.
Drop. It's just beautiful.
Kendall Milton. He needed this. I thought Kendall Milton struggled a lot this year, and he's had a couple big runs in the last couple weeks. I don't know that I would rely on him in like a must-have situation yet, but when he goes north and south, he's so good. It's just he doesn't always go north and south.
The interesting part is, I think probably the fan base would probably say that as well, that he feels like he struggled a little bit. He's actually leading the running backs in yards per carry.
God, it doesn't feel that way.
I mean, it's exactly a couple. I mean, what's amazing about the play itself is this is Bob, big on big. And you look at what Van Pran does, helping out right guard. Devin Willock does a good job of getting his head and butt again. And then Van Pran gets the linebacker. And then the other guys, like, just horrid play from the other linebacker and the two safeties. The other linebacker's looking at who knows what. Not the one that doesn't even get blocked. And then the safeties fly up to the outside as opposed to where the ball actually is. And Milton just houses it. Doesn't even get touched. Amazing. Yards before contact. Good things.
I don't know this gentleman's name, but we must give a shout out to the high-stepping Georgia ball boy on the Georgia Tech sideline. Watch him run with this. Ha!
Oh, yeah. He does get a high knee, high step action there. Nice.
He could have been in Ohio State's band before the Michigan game with that kind of footwork. Not after. They didn't do much playing in that game beyond that. But overall, really good protection here. I thought Georgia needed running plays like this. And Milton's confident. He needs to be confident for the postseason. Edwards needs to be confident for it. Because once
they're going to need them. They're going to need all three of them.
And you may need Branson too, but typically once you get to this part of the season, you kind of ride your horses a bit more. And Georgia has 3 proven running backs, and Milton's in that group.
Yep, I agree.
Overall, let's wrap up Georgia's offense against Georgia Tech. And then after that, you and I have to run because we're going to do a little recording of our LSU preview that'll be live on Monday for people to check out.
It's, again, just as it moves forward, it's kind of been the struggle bus of late. I think they've committed to, over the last half of the season, running the football. Some weather's dictated that some. Game situations have dictated that some too. But now it's, I wrote in my column after the game, when you think about your playbook and what you got, as Dan Fouts said in The Waterboy, can't hold anything back now.
Yeah. It's that, but then also the whole feel of the season changes just with the amount of time that you have in between games, because if someone gets a minor injury, it'll be fine for later in December, right? So maybe you can be like, there's been definitely times this season where I thought Stetson Bennett didn't run as much because of if he gets hurt.
There's definitely been a
gonna give
governor on him, I think.
I think that governor probably gets mitigated a little bit against LSU. I don't know if it would. It depends how that game goes. If Georgia gets an early 14-0 lead, then yeah, you probably take that out, be a bit more, I don't want to say conservative, but just a bit more protective.
With him.
Yeah. But look, Stetson Bennett has potentially 3 more college football games left in a 17-year career that has lasted for 18 presidents. And he needs to ride into the sunset. Like, he came back to Georgia for a reason, and it was to have another run like this. And I mean, he's got 12 quarters left. Maximize it. Who I don't know what his football career holds after this. What I do know is that he represents a lot for the state of Georgia and his story and just the role that he played in this part of Georgia's, what I'm considering a dynasty now. And so let's see if Georgia's offense brings that against LSU, and then TCU, USC, Michigan, whatever comes up after that. That LSU preview is coming on Monday. JitteryJoes.com. Support them. They support us. You can get free Jittery Joes in the comments. Look for that King Sumo link. That's the service that we use. And you can win the free National Champion Edition Jittery Joe's coffee. Thanks, everybody, for watching. For Brent Rollins, I'm Dayne Young. We'll see